They told you your story began in chains. But what if your roots go deeper than slavery? Back to the builders of pyramids, the masters of stars, and the true first Americans. This is the truth they buried beneath false flags, burning scrolls, and stolen names. This is the story of who you truly are, before Columbus, before slavery, before the lie. Long before Columbus discovered anything, black civilizations had already touched these lands. The Olmecs, whose stone heads stand 10 feet tall, had wide noses, full lips, and African features. They were astronomers, engineers, and builders. Their influence fed into the Maya, the Inca, and the Aztec. But it didn't stop there. The Washita Moors ruled what is now Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas. Recognized by the United Nations as the oldest indigenous people of North America, their empire was spiritual and scientific, masters of agriculture and mound builders who aligned their cities with the stars. The Yamasee, Gullah Geechee, and Creek nations were dark-skinned, wool-haired, and deeply spiritual. Not African imports, but indigenous, reclassified as freedmen and Negroes to erase land claims. The Moors were not just in Spain, they were global. Navigators, architects, and spiritual scientists. From Morocco and Mali, they crossed the Atlantic long before Columbus. Moorish flags appeared on early maps of the Americas. Temples, pyramids, and mound cities with cosmic alignments still stand today, from Cahokia to Poverty Point. The Anasazi, ancestors of the Pueblo, had features linked to African tribes. They built underground cities and lived by the laws of the cosmos. These were not nomads, these were engineers, and they were black. Mansa Musa, ruler of Mali, was the wealthiest man in recorded history. He ruled not just with gold, but with wisdom. His kingdom stretched across West Africa and into the Americas. Before him came Abubakari II, Musa's brother, who in 1311 sailed west with 2,000 ships. He left no trace in Africa, but in America, stories of black kings arriving with fleets live on. Tribes like the Washita and Yamasee bear witness to their arrival. These kings carried Atlantean science, knowledge of frequency, energy, mathematics, and healing. They studied in Timbuktu, a city of over 1 million manuscripts on medicine, stars, and spirit. Their legacy didn't die, it was buried. Buried in Mauritania lies the Richat structure, a massive landform matching Plato's exact description of Atlantis. 3 concentric rings, mountains to the north, a freshwater spring in the center, once surrounded by ocean. This isn't fantasy. Satellite images show ancient water channels leading from the Richat to the Atlantic. The rings stretch nearly 30 miles wide, visible from space. And, Mauritania is in West Africa, right where Mali's fleets would have departed. What if Atlantis wasn't sunk, but forgotten, not under the sea but hidden in the African soil? The Library of Alexandria once held the world's sacred knowledge: Atlantean scrolls, celestial maps, healing frequencies, and pyramidal energy secrets. Much of it was written by black sages from Kemet, Ethiopia, and Sumer. It was burned, not once but multiple times. By Greeks, by Romans, by early Christians, not out of chaos but intention, to wipe clean the memory of black god scientists and builders. But those scrolls didn't all burn. Many were hidden, stolen, now locked away in Vatican vaults, Masonic libraries, and underground chambers. They had to erase your history, because if you knew the truth, you'd know this land was yours. By reclassifying indigenous black tribes as Negroes or freedmen, they voided treaties, erased tribal names, and severed your legal rights. You became a statistic instead of a sovereign. That's why your school books teach slavery, but not the Moors, not the Washita, not Atlantis. Because the moment you remember, you reclaim everything. You are not descendants of slaves. You are the living codes of empires they tried to bury. You are the Atlanteans, the Mali kings, the Moors, the Washita, the Pueblo, the Anasazi, and those who walked with the stars. You were here before the Mayflower, before Columbus, before the lie. Now it's time to remember, because when the 144,000 awaken, the false world collapses. You don't need permission to reclaim your crown, you just need truth, and now, you have it. Like, share, subscribe, not for me, but for your lineage, because when you awaken, your whole bloodline ascends with you. This is just the beginning.